Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing My Hero Academia chapter 3, 3, 3. So trees all around. And this title is this chapter is titled, not this title, this chapter. This chapter is titled Spectre. So let's dive straight into it. Of course, spoiler warning before we begin. And yeah, let's begin. So essentially, this chapter picks up directly after Shigaraki grabs Stars and Stripes' face in the previous one, and we learn a few things. So first of all, he said what set him on edge was the thought of New Order and One for All colluding, working together, coming together. And to kind of minimize this, he said he had his friends across the sea, or his criminal organizations that he's friends with, do things to prevent the US from sending Star and Stripe there. So he kind of had a plan in place to stop the help from coming to help coming from USA to Japan before he was ready to deal with that. So that's what he was waiting for, with Shigaraki trying to perfect his body before. But it was a gamble placing the unhealed Shigaraki, the incomplete Shigaraki, up against her now that she rushed out. But he said with this gamble, this roll of the dice, he wins, he defeats USA. And we see after he lets go of Star and Stripe's face, she begins to say Kathleen Bates won't decay, meaning her body won't decay under Shigaraki's power. But we see one of the jet pilots he's like, you're a total idiot because you tried to save me, and he's angry. So we see Shigaraki says that I've stolen it, and he has to agree that she was an idiot for not going for the final move and saving the fighter pilot. But Shigaraki also mentions that her body began to decay the moment he touched her and stole her quirk, and we realize that she has a limit to her quirk. That's one of the limitations. The moment her quirk was stolen, her body started to decay. And Shigaraki calls back to All for One's memory with the comic book, and we see him talking about you thought I didn't realize there was more to the story, because his brother always tells him that he only read the first 3 comics and he didn't finish it, all of that. So he is just monologuing here basically, and he tries to use Star and Stripes' New Order quick, and he says New Order, the air is, and before he could finish, we go inside of Shigaraki, the vestige world then, and we see Star there, and we see the mutated, deformed fusion of Shigaraki and All for One together. And is it All for One or One for All? I mixed them up. Either way, we see his body starts to explode, and Shigaraki is confused. The fighter jet pilots are like, his body seems to be tearing itself apart, so don't let up attack. And they're thinking maybe Star did something, and we see her smiling, and we see her say New Order, revolt against any quirks. So that was what she actually did when he stole her quirk. She said for her quirk to revolt against others. And we see One for All, it's like, Kathleen Bates, you scum, you tricked me. But essentially she's disintegrating, and what is happening here is kind of like with Midoriya in his vestige world, how the vestiges appear and speak to him and help. Now in Shigaraki's world, there's the vestige of him and One for All for One. I feel like it's All for One. Yeah, All for One. Him and All for One merged, mutated form against Kathleen Bates' New Order, which takes on a persona kind of herself. And essentially what's going on inside her is her quirk is revolting like she said it would, but it's destroying Shigaraki's quirks inside him, fighting them off. And we see this when the pilots decide to fire their lasers on Shigaraki to stop him, because he's kind of in this form battling inside himself, and his outer body is sustaining damage still as his quirks are exploding. So they attack, and Shigaraki is about to use Reflect, but he says his Reflect quirk has been destroyed, and we see Star's vestige ripping, destroying that kinda inside of Shigaraki. So we know that basically whatever quirks she destroys in there is gone for good. And Shigaraki also says that he can't just dispose of a quirk, so he can't just expel a quirk because it causes him damage. He needs to bestow the quirk onto someone, and his plan was to bestow it on the pilots, but again they got away by firing the lasers and hitting him. So he begins to fall, and we see Star's face start to disintegrate, and she essentially says this is her returning the favor to All Might, because All Might saved her so many years ago, and this allowed her to become a hero and live her dream. And we see All for One is like, damn, you spectre of All Might. But essentially the chapter ends there. So a few things to note. I'm wondering if maybe he will bestow the quirk on to someone else and try to take it back at a later point, or maybe somehow Midoriya gets it inside of him and it won't revolt against his quirk, because Star would know that it was All Might because his vestige is in there, and then maybe it adds a new ability to One for All, maybe. Or is All for One going to just bestow it on some random person and kill them and get rid of it for good? It's an OP quirk, so I don't see him doing that. So that's interesting to see where it goes. Hopefully Midoriya can get it somehow. But yeah, next thing is, it seems that they're not pulling any punches in the chapters anymore. So it seems to me that maybe the manga may be ending soon, and if so, how soon? That's the next big question, so we have to wait to see on that. But again, this was a pretty good chapter in my opinion. I like that even though Shigaraki got the OP quirk, he wasn't able to just make it his own. She used her head, Star used her head and made it so that it would be detrimental to him. So that's pretty good. So I love that part of the chapter. Even though she knows she was losing, she planned ahead. But yeah, the top hero of America just died. So who else is going to come in from other countries to help Japan now? Will they send any other help, seeing that Star, the number one hero for America, died? I have to wait and see. But all in all, good chapter. And I still think Deku is going to end up getting her quirk somehow. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.